Here are 3 players to watch in the NCAA tournament that if you don't know, you better ask somebody. Everyone just loves New Mexico to upset number 6, have the potential to go at least one more round. Deron Holmes, Shahade Wells, and Enrique Freeman, 3 players you have to know about.
Sweet 16 time. Nothing better than this. Thanks for joining me, Mike Randle, Chief Content Officer here at FTN. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at Randle Rant. We have incredible content rolling here. Frank Brank has updated his sims, his models. We're ready to go. We got our bets going in the bet tracker in the Discord. You want to join us here. And don't forget, folks, there is still time to get in here. Promo code FTN March, 35% off of 1 month or a year, and you're going to want a year because what happens tomorrow? It's not just the Sweet 16, it's also MLB season. MLB season is kicking off, and we have our incredible 4 people who do their picks who are tremendous. The content is rolling. Vlad Sedler's podcast, nothing better. Now it's time to join us here at FTN. Appreciate you guys as always. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to get into it. What I'm going to do today is cover all the Sweet 16 games, the 4 tomorrow and the 4 on Friday. Now, we've been scalding hot in sides. We're approaching that 100-unit mark on sides the last 2 years. And I have some plays for you from our model as well. Frank has updated the model. We have totals as well. Props are going to be in the bet tracker. Those are coming out. Mike Kutry is cooking some up already. So we are ready to go here, folks. Thank you for joining us as always. Comments coming in. We appreciate it. Dan in the house. Dan, Sweet 16. So good about Clemson and UNC. We'll talk about it, Dan. But you know I like Clemson as well. Trevor is back. Yeah, that's Daryl. That's why I hope you're in the Discord with us. We got to the window last night at Arkansas State plus 2.5. That was a frisky one against High Point, but they did come back, and we liked it because the money wasn't really moving the line at all. We got to 2.5. Nice to get some variance on our side as well. Shannon Jr. points, Trevor. I don't see how we bet against it. Anyway, here we go. Let's go through it. And again, please get into the Discord. Join us here at FTN Bets because that's where the conversation goes back and forth. We have the greatest Discord people in the world. They give you comments, things that can change. You never know, someone could get sick. There could be some thoughts as well. But here are my picks going into the Sweet 16, which is last year where we really hit our stride. Let's start with this one. You know what? Florida Atlantic was my team last year, and my team this year is Clemson. Clemson coming into this year was very underrated coming into this tournament. They don't turn the ball over. They have solid guard play. They defend well inside the arc. They make their free throws. PJ Hall's a matchup problem. Now, the weakness, of course, is when PJ Hall gets into foul trouble. If he gets into foul trouble or there's a problem on the interior, they can really struggle, which is why you saw in that game that Baylor was able to come back because Hall got that stupid foul going for the loose ball. But I do like Clemson here. You look at Caleb Love. Caleb Love, if you're going to rely on Caleb Love, he can shoot you in and out of games. He was fantastic on their run, North Carolina getting all the way to the finals. But in this spot, he is the clear number 1 option for Arizona, which just worries me. And I think it worries Arizona fans. He has attempted 205 more field goal attempts than the nearest player on Arizona, which I believe is Pell Larson. 205 field goal attempts more. And he only shoots 41%. So he's not that reliable. They also don't get to the free throw line a lot. Pell Larson doesn't really break you down off the dribble. Jaden Bradley's good coming off the bench. I kind of like Clemson in this matchup to not only cover, but also to win. I think the Tigers, Joe Girard's playing at a different level. Hunter is the variable. Shefflin does all the things. No one likes the kid. They like to get on him. He does all the things that matter for winning here. So I like this team a lot. I like Clemson. I do not trust it should be Arizona. I don't trust Arizona at all in this matchup. So I'm taking Clemson plus 7.5 over Arizona. Next game. Now, I think this one is interesting because my comment here is that San Diego State does a lot of stuff that Connecticut is going to run up against that they want to do. So, for example, San Diego State, you have to be able to limit Klingon inside if you're facing Connecticut. And you have to be able to guard the 3. San Diego State can do both those things. Jadon Ledee has improved more than any player I remember from last year. He's putting in 25, 30 points. He has hooks. He has up and unders. He's scoring the basket. He can handle Klingon inside. If Oso Ikudaro can do it without Tyler Cloak in the Big East Championship, he can do it here as well. They also can guard the perimeter. Now, we know that San Diego State has trouble scoring. We know they had the worst three-point shooting as a team in the Mountain West. I am taking San Diego State plus 11. I don't think they're winning this game. I don't. But I got a whole lot of variance and a whole lot of wiggle room with 11 points. I am taking San Diego State plus 11 against Yukon. Other issue is when you have a spread of 8 points or more in the last 30 Sweet 16 games, spread with an underdog of 8 points or more last 30 Sweet 16 games, the under is 22, 6, and 2. So the under is hitting at an incredible rate in these matchups. Slower game, underplay, lower, you have more variance, and you have points at a premium. So even though San Diego State has struggled, and even though their offense can be very up and down, they were scalding out from three against Yale. We saw what happened there. They will not be intimidated by Yukon. There's a revenge spot. And as long as Ladie stays out of foul trouble, they're not going to have to double cling in the post, which is going to allow them to keep this game close. I'm taking San Diego State plus 11 against Connecticut. Ooh, this is tough. I'm going with North Carolina. You heard that the 1 seeds against the 4 seeds are in these matchups are 12-2 straight up in the last 14 Sweet 16s. The 4s don't normally beat the 1s. Now, I'm not big into trends. I don't care. I don't care about trends with Clemson. I don't care about trends with Rick Barnes. But Alabama doesn't play defense. And Alabama this year has struggled whenever they've played someone who has been a good defensive team, especially when it's on the road. That's where they've had their trouble. That their games that are usually won where they've been able to have their big wins have occurred when they've been at home. So we look at this matchup here. Their best road win all year for Alabama was at Mississippi State. They played Tennessee, Kentucky, Auburn, and Florida on the road. Lost by 19.5 points. Why? Because they can't play defense. North Carolina's defense, first in effective field goal percentage allowed in the ACC, first in 3-point percentage allowed, and 2-point percentage allowed. They're a solid defensive team. They're the best player on the floor in RJ Davis. They've been more consistent. They're better with the metrics. And Alabama is now facing a superior team to the first 2 teams they played. They played Charleston and played no defense, dropped 100 on them, and they ran away from them, hitting a bunch of threes. Then they played Grand Canyon, who again sort of fell back to regress to where they normally were and did, as Charles Barkley correctly said, had almost no assists in the second half. They're now playing a North Carolina team that's better than any of the teams they played. I don't like Hubert Davis, but this one's tough. I'm taking North Carolina and laying the 4.5 points. It's a lot. If you got it right away, 3.5, good for you. I think that was a big point there. I'm taking North Carolina minus 4.5. It is very difficult for me to take an Illinois team that simply doesn't play defense. I can't do it. And I know this is a very popular upset that people are picking. Why? Because Iowa State's offense can be anemic. But my issue here is that when they've played teams that even have a decent defense, metrically, they've struggled. Marquette at home, lost. Tennessee away, lost. Purdue twice, lost. Michigan State, Maryland, lost. Terrence Shannon is going to get his. And I think Morehead State, Preston Spradlin made a huge mistake in that game. First round game, they were losing by 1 at the half. Terrence Shannon was ballistic. 18 points, 20 points in the first half. The adjustment came that they were going to then double Shannon, try to limit him, and let everybody else beat them. Well, that's when Dumbass got hot. That's when Danger got hot, and they ran away. I don't think you should do that. I think you should let Shannon get his points. You should let Shannon do what Shannon does and try to beat him that way. Morehead State was down 1 point at the half. They should have let Shannon go for 40. Nobody cares. You limit everybody else, you're going to beat this team because they don't play defense. I am taking Iowa State minus 1.5. They're not going to get the booty ball with Shannon backing them down. They're going to funnel them to the baseline, get doubled. I like Iowa State. They'll make enough threes. They've been hot lately. They, of course, can go cold, but their defense has dominated, and they beat Houston twice. I don't think Illinois gets the Elite Eight without playing any defense. If I had to pick, I'm going Marquette. This is a lot of points. The reason is Marquette really got to a different level, which is why I predicted them to the Final Four without Cam Jones, without Tyler Kolek. When Tyler Kolek was out, this team improved, and their defense improved, and they played superior defense against Yukon in that Big East final. That raised the ceiling for this entire team, and that's what you saw. The only reason that they struggled against Colorado is Cam Jones got in foul trouble. When Cam Jones gets into foul trouble, this team really struggles offensively because it's just not that deep anymore. I wish they still had players, earlier this year, they were fortunate when they had players like Sean Jones on the team who were really able to do a lot. But when he goes out, this offense struggles. Cam Jones, 4 fouls in that game. That's when Colorado made their comeback. Guys, the last time Cam Jones had 4 fouls was back on February 13th. He just doesn't get into foul trouble. He didn't get in foul trouble against Yukon, Providence, Villanova, none of those games. That's why I think Marquette's going to move on. I also have a play on a total. We'll get to this at the end from our FTN models, which I love as well. I am taking Marquette. I will lay the 6.5. It's close. You run the risk of a backdoor cover. NC State's been great. DJ Burns has been great. The problem is they're going to put him in a lot of pick and roll with Iguodala, which he's not going to want to guard. This team can shoot. So you can't zone them. And I think the three-point regression is coming for NC State. They have not been a good outside shooting team. They've gotten hot. At some point, they're going to have to win a game in this tournament when they don't shoot well. I think that's their weakness. I think that's when everything happens. Their Achilles heel. Marquette gets the win here. Look, the way that you're going to beat Purdue, because Purdue is built by Matt Painter. Everybody criticizes Matt Painter. He's a superior coach. Sustained success is what he has at Purdue. But let me ask you this. If you guys had a 7'4" setter in Zach Edey, how would you build this team? You'd put a bunch of shooters around him. Now, we brought in Lance Jones from Southern Illinois to try to have some sort of slasher. And Lance Jones has been fine. He averaged about 13 points per game at Southern Illinois 4 years. And now he's averaged about 12. But he still has been 9 points or less in each of the last 3 games. So the weakness for Purdue is they don't have a wing who can dribble and attack the basket. So the question is, can you stop Edey inside and get rebounds? Utah State couldn't do that, got in foul trouble. Gonzaga can. They can do it with Graham Ike. They can do it with Anton Watson. They have players who can at least slow him down a little bit. You're not going to stop a 2-time player of the year, but they can battle him a little bit. And these two teams played earlier this year in the Maui Invitational, and it was 73-63. In that game, Edey had 25 points, 14 rebounds. They did what they could. But Graham Ike had 4 fouls. Watson had 4 fouls, but they were able to keep themselves in the game without getting in foul trouble. The problem with Gonzaga is they shot 6 of 32, 18% in that game. The first 2 games they've played, they shot 50% from three-point range. So they're shooting well. Gonzaga's shooting well. That has to continue. But 5.5's a lot with a really good coach in Mark Few, with a team that's playing well, Nembhard's getting to the basket, that can actually limit Edey to a certain extent without having to worry about doubling. They can't get in foul trouble. If you do that against Purdue, you're in trouble. But I do think Gonzaga can limit the Boilermakers from the outside. They were only 4 of 17 from three-point range in that matchup, 23.5%. But the reason they lost is they could not score. If Gonzaga can score, which I think they can, they should be able to cover this number, and they may be able to upset Purdue. And if Purdue loses, I don't care. It doesn't mean Matt Painter's doing a bad job. It means that he had sustained success with a 7'4" big when no team in America goes with that strategy right now. But you have a great player. What are you going to do? I'm taking Gonzaga plus 5.5 against Purdue. Duke had about the easiest first 2 games they could possibly have had in this tournament. They steamrolled the competition. Duke just dominated McNeese. They were on fire from the outside. Duke was on fire from the outside, played exceptionally well, dominated Vermont. Even though Vermont was shorthanded and they shot well, John Becker's going to get one. They beat Vermont by 17. Then they played James Madison on fire. 93-55, they win. Jared McCain's 8 of 11 from three-point range. That is not going to happen against Houston's perimeter defense, I can assure you. And we're getting a little bit of value here in Houston because everyone's worried. They blew the lead to Texas A&M, and they won in overtime, but it was close. That was always the tough game. I told you that it was a tough game. They played early this year with 70-66. The way that you're going to be Houston is you have to defend them. You have to roll up your sleeves, get tough, love the second chance points, hold the box out, don't release too early, all of that stuff. I don't think Duke's going to do that. I think they're soft. I think they're talented. I think they shoot threes. I think they play well. I don't think Filipowski and Mitchell can do that. I think Houston can. I think Houston wins this game. We're getting value on Houston here against Duke. You got the 1 versus the 4, whatever you want. I'm taking the Cougars here. The game that they were going to lose was going to be that Texas A&M game. They can still lose to Marquette, but I don't think they're losing to Duke. And they sure as heck are not going to get lit up from three-point range. So can Filipowski and all the interior players find a way to score when the outside shooters are not clicking? Filipowski 14 points against James Madison. A lot of that came late. Only 3 against Vermont, a good defensive team. That's what Houston's going to do here as well. He had 28 and 23 points against NC State and North Carolina, but they lost both of those games. Duke goes as the guards go, and there's no one out there who defends these guards better than Houston. I'll take Houston -4. Last game here. I'll tell you, this one makes me nervous because if you look at all the metrics, the Ken Pom pre-tournament metrics, I think it's top 37 in offense and top 20 in defense prior to the start of the tournament. Creighton fits the mold. And you know I don't like Creighton. You know I don't like the variance. You know I don't like everything about them because they're very hot and cold. But if they make their threes, they can win the national title. So their threes have been so hot. And the one thing that bothers me is Trey Alexander has finally started to attack the basket. Everything I saw with Creighton was dribble into the key, fire out for 3. We can't get blocked. Baylor Shireman dribbles in the key, jump stops, pump fakes, kicks out. Everything's kick out. Not happening anymore. Trey Alexander's getting the gaps. He's finishing in the mid-range. That's a problem. But I do think that Tennessee's 3-point variance comes back in this game. The reason that Tennessee struggled against Texas is because Dylan Mitchell is a great defender for Texas and caused a lot of problems for Dalton Connect, and because Tennessee shot an anemic 3 of 25. That's 12% from 3-point range. So they still beat Texas 62-58 in a game where they shot 12%, 3 of 25 from 3-point range. I think the perimeter defense will limit the Creighton Blue Jays. I think the big men inside will rough up Kalkbrenner a little bit. They do, as long as Connect goes off, and I think he will. I've tethered this to an over on Connect's points prop. I think Tennessee gets this win. I don't like the line. It's very scary. Creighton is hot. You know they can bang threes. They should have lost to Oregon, but they got hot in the overtime. In the second overtime, it's fine. They need to defend to beat Tennessee. You need to limit Connect. If you don't do that, like Alabama, Creighton's very similar to Alabama. Tennessee won at Alabama. Didn't surprise me at all. I will take the Volunteers here, -2.5. Let me just get you to a couple plays that we have from the model, and then I will get to your questions. Clemson, Arizona over 152. I looked at this one as soon as it came out. You go to our edge. You have in this matchup, it's actually 151 now, which means it's up to a 12% edge, 64.4% probability in our FTN model, 12% edge. I love it. I don't think Arizona is going to be able to stop Clemson, and I know Arizona can score in bunches, and they're going to get up and down the floor. We'll take the over there. It's now at 151. This was the one I was talking about before, Marquette and NC State. We have an under 151.5. That is a 6.8% edge, a 59% probability. I do think NC State struggles to score, and Marquette can struggle if Cam Jones is not scolding hot or not playing well. So I think this is a tough game. I think DJ Burns can do some things inside. They're going to want to slow it down. They want to run the floor. Pace should be slower. Points should be at a premium. I still am going under 151.5 here with Marquette, NC State, our second biggest edge on our models here for totals. And our last one, Creighton and Tennessee over 143. This is another 6% edge at 58.1% probability. Creighton's going to hit some shots. Tennessee wants to run, and Tennessee is not shooting 3 of 25 from 3-point range. Again, they're just not doing it. They should be able to score. Zakai Ziegler, who was not there last year, who was injured, should make a huge difference here. Tennessee got to this point against Florida Atlantic last year. They were up about 11 points. They gave it back. They lost. They're going to want revenge here. Creighton is going to have a physicality. They're at a new site. They're going to have to hit threes. I don't think Kalkbrenner, who's hit the over on his points prop 2 straight games, I don't think that happens again. Give me decent Dalton Connect. Give me 3-point regression. No foul trouble. I think this game goes over because Tennessee can score and Creighton's going to have to shoot threes. They can't get in foul trouble. Creighton does not foul. So it doesn't mean they're playing great defense when they're not fouling. It means they're allowing teams to score. Tennessee's going to do that. I'll take the over 143. And I think that is it for today. Let's see our points here. Yeah, Arkansas money line. Tough one, Trevor. Yeah, tough one as well. Yes, Trevor, if you like Arizona, then you tether it to Caleb Love. Caleb Love has to score. If you saw in the second half where Dayton came back, that's because Caleb Love was not shooting well, and he was way off. He can get scalding hot, and then he can go on these backboard air ball streaks, and that's what he had, and that's why Dayton came back in that game. Thoughts on the Creighton over and Clemson over? UNLV spread. This is a really good question, Daryl. Like I said, Creighton over I like. The Clemson over, let me check our model. I don't think we have an advantage on that for the Clemson one. Do we have that? Yeah, we go. Oh, yeah, we go over. Yeah, that was the first one. Yeah, that's the biggest edge we have is the 12% edge on the Clemson Arizona over. So I got that, both that one and the Creighton one as well. And UNLV spread in the over. Yeah, this is a tricky one. I like UNLV. Seton Hall is tough, especially at home. So I haven't put a bet in for that one yet. Utah spread as well. That's 7 against VCU. I'll tell you who I love is Joe Bamisil. See if I got a points prop on Joe Bamisil. He's been hitting it left and right, coming off the bench, scoring for VCU. 7's a lot. The altitude with Utah. I get it. I got to look at that one closer. And then Purdue Fort Wayne, I got no opinion on. The high point money line I'm also looking at as well. Boda did a nice job. They should not have lost the cover in that game against Arkansas State. He was dominant. So high point money line looks decent as well. NC State loses UNC to advance. No problem with that. They did, Sam. Purdue also was equally bad. I just think Gonzaga with Mark Few can do that because I don't think Purdue's perimeter defense is that great. I think that Nembhard will be able to get in the lane. They don't have that. Fletcher Lawyer, Braden Smith, they don't attack off the dribble. It's all Lance Jones, the perimeter player. So they were equally bad, but I think Gonzaga's defense on the perimeter can guard that as long as EK and Anton Watson can do a decent job inside and they don't have to collapse. They got to guard Ben Gregg, who's been hot. I think Gonzaga's offense has more answers than Purdue does. I know Purdue shoots the lights out, but normally that's because Edey is dominating inside. If Gonzaga can guard him and limit him a little bit and not give up those shooters, Purdue's going to have trouble. Purdue's entire offense is predicated on Zach Edey drawing attention. I think Mark Few has something for that as well. Tessie, O'Donnell, Myra, which one is I like Connect? I like them both. I will say, Daryl, I'm more trusting of Connect than I am PJ Hall because the foul trouble is ridiculous. Hall has a temper. And when he gets angry, he can go do something silly. Like he got the ball. He was looking for the post play there, and the ball was passed a little too far, and it got stolen. He just slammed his shoulder into that player, which was just, I think it was his 4th foul or 5th foul. So I trust Connect a lot better. I like both players. Hall's got to stay out of foul trouble. If you told me PJ Hall only had 3 fouls in this game, I'd go heavy on the money line for Clemson. But because sometimes gets a little volatile, I'll go with Connect a little bit better. Trevor, thank you as always. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Smith can defend the ball screens. I get it. My issue, Sam, is that when Edey is not dominating inside and it's always kicks out, you kick out for jumpers, you kick out for shots. That's not going to work against Mark Few. I can work against Utah State with Danny Sprinkles, got 1 foot out the door. It's not going to work against Mark Few. I'm concerned about that because I think Gonzaga is more likely to shoot better than Purdue did in that first matchup as well. Fair enough. Thank you, Sam. You are the man. That's it, folks. Quick one today, 20 minutes. We'll be back Saturday morning or normal time, 9:30 Saturday morning. Make sure you get in the Discord, get all the questions. These are the picks here. I got the 3 totals from the model. I got the 8 picks, 1 for each game. Also looking at some stuff with props as well. That's why you got to join us here. FTN Bets. Don't forget, that is the place to be. Promo code FTN March, 35% off. MLB tomorrow. We start. Play ball. MLB tomorrow. Can't wait. Thank you, folks, for always joining us. Hit the like, subscribe button. We appreciate you. And as always, this is our time. We've waited. We've studied. We've digested the metrics. We've watched the games. Let's have a day. Let's have a Sweet 16. And let's get to the window.
Here are 3 players to watch in the NCAA tournament that if you don't know,